The outbreak of anti-Israel protests on college campuses around the country are having major impacts on students. We've seen Columbia University cancel its university-wide commencement ceremony after it failed to control the protesters on their campus.
And there was the pro-Palestinian protesters who interrupted the graduation ceremony at the University of Michigan.
All symptoms of what Citadel CEO and Harvard donor Ken Griffin says is a failure of the system as a whole.
The failed education system is what you are seeing play out on the campuses of the Ivy League schools today. I do not understand where this shame has come from in the history of our country. No country has done for humanity what as America has done. We were the country that saved the world in World War II. We saved the world. And that's like lost on these students. They are brought up in this strange world that America is not intrinsically a force for good. That's who we have been. That's who we need to be. That's what our colleges need to prepare our students to be, is to be leaders of the free world.
That failure could soon hit colleges where it hurts as the House GOP launches an investigation into schools' tax-exempt status.
Leading that charge is House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith, and he joins us right now. Jason, good to see you. I'm going to give you a slow clap right now for looking at these universities and colleges and their tax-exempt status. Where are you guys in your investigation, and can you garner the support necessary to start to tax these universities?
So, Sean, this investigation started back in November, where we had a public oversight hearing looking at the inappropriate activities that was going on campus and how the administrative officials on all of these campuses was not following their just code of conduct on having basically where they're focused on preferred speech rather than freedom of speech. So, as you know, Sean, universities face generous benefits in the tax code. And so we're looking at whether these universities are following the guidelines. We, in fact, wrote a letter to 4 different major universities, Harvard being one of them, MIT, Cornell, and also Penn. And they have responded to about 20 questions that we had based on each one, more than 1,500 pages that we've been referring to. And I'll tell you, it is quite disturbing what we're seeing.
Congressman, before we move on, I just want to point out Ken Griffin gave Harvard possibly the largest indoctrination island for New Age Nazis, $500 million. And $300 million of it he doled out about a year ago. And so now he's, oh, America's so great, but he helped fund basically turning these kids into, well, pro-terror protesters.
You know, it's quite disturbing. Before I came over to do this interview, I was talking with a Harvard graduate student, Jewish Harvard graduate student, and he was telling me just about the harassment and what was going on campus right now. I asked him, do you think they're actually going to have a graduation? He believes that it's a 50-50 shot right now. What's going on these campuses are absolutely unacceptable. They're anti-Semitic. They're anti-American. But as that Harvard student just shared with me, this has been something that's been building for a long time through their faculty, how they've been training. This has to stop on campuses across this nation.
Yeah, Jason, let's move to this because new tonight, the Treasury is out with its Social Security and Medicare trustees report showing it will become insolvent in 2035. Now, that's 1 year later than previously predicted. The White House is taking it as a win and slamming you and Republicans in the meantime, saying, quote, I'm committed to extending Social Security solvency by asking the highest income Americans to pay their fair share without cutting benefits for privatizing Social Security. Republicans in Congress have a very different vision. Their budget sides with the wealthy and special interests. He also called the plan cruel and unnecessary. Jason, one, it's interesting that Joe Biden is celebrating the insolvency of Social Security and Medicare in 10 years. That's a real problem. But how would you respond to the administration attacking you and Republicans?
Well, put it this way, you just saw the economic advisor of Joe Biden. This is why inflation's gone up 19.4%. This is why just last week Joe Biden sent out a tweet saying that if he is elected, he will make sure all of the 2017 Trump tax cuts expire, meaning people who make less than $75,000 a year, a family of four, will face a $1,500 tax increase. Give me a break. This person is completely out of touch with real America. And for him to say that it's Republicans' fault, this president has provided not one solution in protecting and preserving Social Security.
Boom. Congressman, let's move on to this as well. With the national debt topping $34 trillion, billionaire investor Warren Buffett is predicting that taxes, including corporate taxes, are just going to have to go up. Quote, with the present fiscal policies, I think something has to give, and I think higher taxes are quite likely. And of course, Buffett says that he's just fine with that because he's made his nut or his bags of nuts and then some. But can we just start with keeping taxes low and cutting the spending? We're running a $2 trillion deficit just this year and trying to grow our way out of this morass.
We have a spending problem. We don't have a revenue problem. If you look at last year, it was the highest revenues in the history of the United States. You look at, if you just try to bring forth some of the tax proposals that the Democrats have, think about this. If you take every dollar of every billionaire in America, that means Warren Buffett, you take all of his money, you take Elon Musk, you take all of them where they don't even have a cent to their name, that would only allow government to operate for 8 months. 8 months. That tells you we have a spending problem and not a revenue problem.
And so as you look at this, Congressman, and you push back against these calls of very powerful people to raise taxes, do these arguments about growing the economy, to Dagan's question, versus taxing the economy and stunting growth, does it resonate with your voters and voters across the country, do you think?
Absolutely. Do you know, Sean, if we just grow the GDP by 1 point over 10 years, that will give us $3 trillion in economic growth and added revenues to our coffers. The Tax Cut and Jobs Act that passed in 2017, in fact, 2 years ago, created $900 billion more than even the Joint Tax Committee, which is the official scorekeeper of Congress, predicted. It works to make sure Americans keep more of their hard-earned money.
No, it does. Hopefully you'll keep up the fight, Chair on the Ways and Means Committee. Jason Smith, that was great to see you.